we have been discussing that the redemption comes slowly, right? It doesn't come quickly. So, bottom page 3, it says, Madua kima kima, right? Why does it have to be little by little, right? We've seen that it's slowly. Why? So, in Yeshayahu it says, Yesum midbar ветия. The desert and the wild places will be desolate, will be empty. But ותגל ערבה, and then the plains will rejoice. ותפרח כחבצלת, it will sprout like a כבוד. Exactly what a כבצלת is. Normally it's translated as lily, but I'm not convinced that that's the right flower. For one reason, how many lilies have you seen in Eretz Israel? Right, no, I'm saying, but it's clearly not a lily because it's something that sprouts all over the place, or is described as sprouts all over the place. It's obviously a flower, but exactly which flower, I don't have an idea. Poreach, tefrach, ותגל. It grows, it sprouts, it rejoices. Af gila ורנן. It also gets fresh, right? And so on. Kavod ha'Lebanon titein la. The honor, we're at the bottom of the page. The honor of Lebanon is given to it. Hadar hakRmel v'hasharon, the beauty of Carmel and Sharon. Hema yiru kavod Hashem, they will see the honor of God. Hadar Elokenu, the majesty of our God. By the way, Lebanon is in Tanakh is often not Lebanon.
So it's the temple.
It can often be the temple. It can be Lebanon, right? But I mean, and if you think about it, one of the reasons is Lebanon compared to Eretz Israel has a lot of water, right? You go to the Litani River, you go to the Awali River, and so on, and they have a lot of water flowing through them. You know, like they're serious rivers, not like the yeah, you know, or what's the these things are not.
It's a creek. Well, now you can step over it. There's a little bit of.
Yeah, but you can't do that with the Litani.
No.
You know, like, and if you don't have a bridge, you have to travel a long way to cross it because it's you get a lot of rapids there.
It's more than the Yarden.
Well, the Yarden we've locked up. I mean, historically the Yarden was very
It
wide.
depends where you are. Yakov, you can go on. It's like
Yeah, right.
It's nothing.
Yeah, we don't. So, which Lebanon, the glory of the Lebanon, is given to it? It could be referring to the Mikdash, right? The glory of the Mikdash, or since we're talking about the sprouting going on, it could be referring to the water of Lebanon, right? Is going to be here as well, right? So that everything grows and sprouts. Chazal in the Midrash Tנחomã, the Buber Midrash Tנחomã, there are two Midrash Tנחomã, two entire complete works, and they are not the same. They're not even like similar with the slightly different gears, they're just different. And they're both known as Midrash Tנחomã. One was published by Buber, and the other one is known, I think it's known as the Warsaw Tנחomã, something like that. Anyway. Mipnei ma'akasiv ken. So the Midrash asks, why is the redemption written this way? Lelmdech ki בשעה שהקדוש ברוך הוא מגלה שכינתו על ישראל. That at the time that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is revealing the divine presence to Israel, Eino megale Alehem kol tovoso ka'achas. He doesn't reveal all the goodness at once. Mipnei she'ein yocholim la'amod ba'oso tova, because they can't stand all this goodness. It's too much. Shimi galei alem tova b'pam achas yimusu kulam. If he would reveal everything at once, they would die. By the way, we have another example of this, right? What the Gemara says by Mount Torah, it's Gemara and Shabbos, right? That when the first Dibur was said, it was said directly to Klal Yisrael, the neshamos left. It was too overpowering for them, right? Same thing with the second Dibur, and then Klal Yisrael said, Moshe Rabbeinu, you accept it and pass it on to us, right? We weren't capable of that type of closeness to a Kodesh Baruch Hu. So the new redemption, which redemption is the revelation of the Shekhinah, the divine presence to Israel, right? It's a wonderful good thing, but it can't happen at once because we can't absorb it, right? By the way, another way of thinking about it, think of a dry rag, right? You pour water on it. If you pour water on too fast, it just runs off and the rag isn't drenched at first, right? If you pour it on slowly, it can absorb much more. There are all sorts of things like this. We don't have the ability to take it all in. And Chazal continue.
Tanya says it like that too.
It's all over Chazal. Tanya is a very late source.
I know.
This is Tanaim. Excuse me, and Amoraim. Say ulamad, go and learn, from Yosef. It's only a few years. He's revealing himself to his brother. Amr lehem. He says to them, Ani Yosef achichem. I'm Yosef, your brother. His brothers can't answer because they're confused. It's overwhelming to them. HaKadosh Baruch Hu al achas kama v'kama. HaKadosh Baruch Hu all the more so, right? Yeah, I mean, it's past what we can say. What you see here is the essence of Geula is the revelation of the divine to us, right? And our ability to accept it. So what does all this mean? I have this down as a Drukman, but it's not. This is a continuation of the Midrash from the Midrash Tנחomא. Elama HaKadosh Baruch Hu oseh lehem. So what does HaKadosh Baruch Hu do to them? Megale lehem kima kima. He reveals himself to them little by little, or as it's been translated, step by step. I think little by little is a better translation, by the way, because the word kima means a little bit, right? B'techila masisa taharim. At first, it's only the mountains. Shanamar. Yesusam midbar tzia. That he makes the desolate desert rejoice. They must be talking about here like Midbar Yehuda, which is higher than the plain that we're on, right? Ve'achar kach v'sagel Arava, then the plains rejoice. Ve'achar kach roach tefrach, then after the plains are rejoicing, then they start to sprout. Ve'achar kach kavod Lebanon, and after that it's the glory of the Lebanon. Ve'achar kach hema Yerahu kavod Hashem hadar Elkeinu. Then it's only after that he can see the kavod Hashem, the majesty of our God. There's levels here, right? It starts outside a little by little, and it slowly goes to let's say the more settled areas, the more central areas of Klal Yisrael, right? But it starts on the outside and it comes in. And the Navi says in Yecheskel, this is a very famous Navi, Ve'atem harei Yisrael, and you, the mountains of Israel. An peichem titnu ufiryachem tisu lami Yisrael. Your limbs should give fruit, and they should raise it for my people Israel. Ki karvu lavo, because soon they will come. Right? La'achar shlav zeh kvod Lebanon natan la. And after this, we have the honor of Lebanon is given to it. And then, Hema Yerahu kavod Hashem hadar Elkiנו. Then they can see the grandeur of God. It's the inner revelation, right? And for us to see these things is often very difficult. You see something that you may have dreamed about, it's sometimes hard for us to accept that this is what's happening, right? The Navi says, V'amar b'yomahu, Yeshayahu says, and it will be on that day, Hinei Elokenu zeh, look at this our God, Kivinu lo, we desired him, V'yosheinu, and he saved us. Zeh Hashem kivinu lo, this is the God that we desired. Negila v'nismacha b'shuazo, we will rejoice and be happy in his salvation. By the way, this is a pasuk that we say once a year. Before Hakafas, right. So I says it twice a year, but once in the evening, once in the morning. And for the people that have the minhag of saying it 3 times through, so, you know.
To honor everybody.
What?
To honor everybody.
You know, it depends on the size of the shul, right? In a small shul or a medium-sized shul, you can honor people if you go through 3 times. If you're in a large shul, right, it won't help. You know, if you want to honor everyone,
This is the long pasuk that they give to somebody stops in the middle not realizing.
it's 2 pasukim. Yeah. But still even in this pasuk, you see that there are stages going on to it. And the Zohar, based on the pasuk in Shir Hashirim, the pasuk in Shir Hashirim is Mizos Hanishkafa Kmo Shachar. Who is this that looks out like the dawn? Yafa Kilavana, as beautiful as the moon. Barak Achama, as bright as the sun. Ayumak Nigdalos, as awesome as the towers. Right? So, based upon that pasuk, the Zohar goes off. Right? Starts. By the way, where something is in any place in Chazal, in the Midrash, right, in the Zohar, and so on and so forth, doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be talking about, just because this is the Zohar from Bereshit, doesn't mean that we're going to be, talking about anything to do with anything in Bereshit, right? I mean, this is one of the things that's certainly true, is that to talk about anything in an intelligent way, you have to have read through all of Divrei Chazal, everything that Chazal wrote, because you never know where something's hidden, right? You don't know what's there that can contradict you unless you've seen it all. It's actually not that much. I mean, it's if you would put it all, and not with all the commentaries and so on, it's not a huge volume of material. Mizos Hanishkafa. Who is this that looks out? This is the translation of the Sulam, because most people, including myself, often have a problem reading the original Aramaic. Elu Hem Yisrael. This is Yisrael. Bisman she'Hakadosh Baruch Hu Yekayim Osam v'Yotziam min Hagalus. At the time when HaKadosh Baruch Hu establishes them, raises them up, and brings them out of exile. Az yiftach lem Pesach or dak v'katan me'od. Then HaKadosh Baruch Hu opens up for them a little bit of light, very small, right? Very thin, very small. V'acher kach yiftach lem Pesach echad me'at gadol mimeno. Then he opens up a little bit larger of a hole. Ad she'HaKadosh Baruch Hu yiftach lehem es ha'sha'arim ha'elyonim, until he opens up the upper gates. Hapsuchim la'arba ruchos ha'olam. They're open to the four winds of the world, the four directions of the world. By the way, I don't know why, this always reminds me of the story with the Kotzker, that, he'd locked himself up in a room for like 10 years. And he came out and he goes, Der Welt schmeckt, the world stinks. And he goes back into his room. And he basically stayed there for the rest of his life. There's a knot hole that was knocked out between his room and the base medrash. And he would look through that hole to daven with them and things like that. But he stayed in his room. It was very... But that's my idea of, you couldn't... The same way that Klal Yisrael can't immediately deal with everything that's going on, the Kotzker was unable to deal with it yet. B'doma la'adam hanasun b'choshech. It's similar to a person that's put in the darkness. V'tamid b'choshech chayamosh mishkano. And he lived in darkness. He was born in a dungeon with no lights, and he lived there. Shebe'esh rotzin la'irla. When we want to give him light, right? What happens if you turn on a bright light in a guy that's been, in a dark room for just several hours, right? Blind him. First, we happen to open a little hole like the size of a needle, right? Just a little light coming in. And after that, it has to be a little bit more. And then a little bit more and a little bit more until he gets good light. And everyone asks about Israel. The Zohar continues, who is this that's looking out into the dawn? Shachar, who shachri saboker. This is the morning. Dainu hashcha machazekes shemiterem or aboker. This is the darkness, right, before the light of morning starts. Right? We're at the darkness before the world started to light up. V'zeyu or dakda, hadak midak. And this is the thinnest of the thin lights. V'yachar kach yafa kilavana. And after that, it's as beautiful as the moon. Ki alavana ora meruba yoter miyashachar. The moon is brighter than the first hint of dawn. Va'achar kach barakachama. It's as bright as the sun. Asher ora chazak umeir yoser milavana. Then the sun is bright light, greater than the moon. V'achar kach ayuma nigdalos, and it's as awesome as the towers. Shaberusa chazak ba'or chazak ka'roi. It's a very strong light. Bo ura'e. Come in here. Ba'od shechoshech or ve'or mechuseh. As long as the chashach hayom, the day is taken away, the light is covered up. Ve'aboker ba'la here, and the morning's coming to light us up. Ye'ir mitchila me'at me'at. The light comes a little bit at a time. Ad shemit b'rei or kirui, until the light comes as it should. Ken kasher HaKadosh Baruch Hu yitorer laha'ir l'knesses Yisrael. So too the Zohar says this is what it will be like when HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to again enlighten the Jewish people. By the way, if you have a 2,000-year-long nighttime, dawn can take a while too, right? If a 24-hour day, you have 52 minutes halachically between the time when dawn starts and you first see the sun, right? Make your cheshbon. The Rambam's father, who was also his Rebbe, by the way, and the Rambam's father is a Talmud of the Rimigash, who was a Talmud of the Rif. All right? Although we have very little from the Rambam's father, since he was the Rambam's Rebbe, we can assume that he was a reasonably talented Talmud Chacham. That's a fair assumption?
Only gifted more than talented.
Not a leap of faith.
Not a leap of faith. So he wrote a letter that's known as Tנחומא, the letter of consolation to a friend. We don't know exactly what for. Probably someone died, something. But he's writing a letter of consolation. It's a long letter. We're only going to look at a little bit of it here. Kasher Yishalem Zman Hagalus Im Arko. And after that, when the time of exile, as long as it will be, is completed, the Zarmu Zramam, the flow is flowed, V'nichrasu Ke'ilu Hayeshena V'yeshno. It will be as if the sleep is over. Kamamar Hashliach Moshe Alav Shalom, like Moshe the Shaliach said. By the way, this I think this letter must have been translated from Arabic, because referring to Moshe Rabbeinu as the Shaliach is an Arabic thing. All right? It's the same way in classical Arabic as Muslims refer to Muhammad.
The messenger of God.
Right. No, but I'm saying we don't say that. We say Moshe. I'm saying he's using. I'm convinced that this letter was originally in Arabic, right? Judeo-Arabic, not pure Arabic, but he's using the normal Arabic terminology here. Zeramtam shena yiyu, right? The flow of the sleep it was. Baboker kachatzir yahalov, and in the morning the herbage comes out. Uperusha, what does this mean? Asher hi boker hagula, when the light of redemption breaks forth. Asher ba lanu achrech chashach leil hagalus, that comes to us after the darkness of the light of exile. V'ken dama hagalus lachoshech, v'laila uboker. The galus is the darkness of light, and the morning is hayeshua, the salvation. Kamosh yirei me'at me'at, it will be seen little by little. V'tivach hanefesh hako'eves ba'afela halayla, and the pained soul will be given a little bit of revach, a little bit of space, right, from the darkness of the night. Like the kamo adam asher to'e b'midbar ki'iver, like a blind person who's wandering in the desert. V'choshech halayla alav, right, and the darkness of night is on him. V'yelech doeg, he always walks worrying. L'kol mikre rashi yikre, for any bad thing that can happen to him. In tzavu raglav ubo hachoshech yifached ulai yipol be'emek or b'chofayam. He doesn't know what's going on. He can fall into a valley. He can fall into the ocean, off a cliff into the ocean. V'lo yadam makom sheyipol. He doesn't know where he's going to fall, right? Because it's completely dark. He can't see anything at all. V'minat sel b'halicha lo ye betuach machayos raos. And even if he's saved, he's not sure that wild animals aren't going to eat him. Asher yishagu alav, that roar at him, or listim asher yarvu b'derech, or armed robbers that are going to lay an ambush for him in the road. Ve'ech yichav nafsho v'yidog libo ve'alayla yaroch, and how his heart will be worried in the length of the night. Ad asher ya'ir hashachar v'yitgalei ha'or, until the morning dawns and the light is revealed. Vaz yivtach nafsho me'at me'at, and then his soul slowly gets its security back. Ad asher yimalei ha'or v'yitgalei hashemesh, until the light gets more and the sun is revealed. Ve'ir kol olam, and it will light up the entire world. Yivatel halachatz, the pressure upon him is gone. Ve'nav yivakru v'yiru eich tiye halichaso ve'echan yalech, and then he can see his path and where he's supposed to go.
He was blind.
He's blinded by the night. He's not actually blind. He's saying he's in a place where there's
okay.
right.
Man, blinded by the light. Song in the 70s.
Yeah.
Manfred Mann.
Whose song is that?
His name was Manfred Mann. It was called Blinded by the Light.
Yeah. So.
Like dating ourselves.
Yeah, well,
Good song.
we have Migdol and Magdil for Yeshua's Malko. And this Shira, this song, occurs twice in Tanakh, one in Sefer Shmuel, right? Migdol Yeshua's Malko, right? A tower of salvation is the king. He does chesed to his anointed one David and his seed forever, right? And in Tehillim it's Magdil. He builds salvation for the king, right? So we know that there are different levels of divine revelation, right? Chumash is at the highest level, then Navi, then Kesuvim, right? So the level at which we have this pasuk in Shmuel is a different level than is in Tehillim. And Tzia Yehuda Kook, in his notes on Olas Riyah, the Siddur of Rav Kook, right? He makes the following comment: Magdil Migdol. Also pasuk nemer b'malas nevim b'Shmuel. This pasuk is said at the level of the prophets in Shmuel. Ve'acher kach gam b'malas kesuvim b'Tehillim. And then it said at the level of kesuvim in Tehillim. Umitoch chilukei hamadregos ha'elu. And because of the difference in these levels, Bao kol osam shinuyei halashon shebein shnei mekomosav. Therefore, we have the difference in the pasuk between the two sources. Ubizman sheyesh yitron shel kedusha, and when there we have more kedusha, omri mosa pasuk b'yitron kedusha so. We say the pasuk that has more kedusha, k'moshu b'nevim, like it said in Nevim, migdol. Sheleuma tahofa shebesocham shebeksuvim tavor pu'ul shemagdil as Yeshua. And in Ksuvim, we have, it appears as a verb. We're creating salvation. It's not, Mofia hu sham b'mekoro, shehu ba'atzmo migdol ha'yeshuos, right?
I think it's Mofia who's shame.
Yeah.
Migdal is a thing.
Right. He's the tower of the right. He's the tower of salvation.
I think it means Mofia who's shame, like it's a shame, it's a noun.
Right. Yes, you're right. The commotion mevarchim b'aseres yimei tshuva hamelech hamishpat, just like the difference between the melech mishpat and melech ohev tzedakah mishpat. During the year, right, God loves good judgment. During aseres yimei tshuva, He is judgment. Right. So there is a difference, and when you're ideally, people should be on a different level on Shabbos and Yantif than they are on a weekday, right? And as such, we should be able to have a better perception of God, and hence we should be saying Migdol, right? That we should be able to see God as salvation, not as creating the situation for future salvation. All right? And this difference in the Nusach of the Shir and Shmuel, right? Chazal also talk about in the Midrash Socher Tov. Ksuv echad omer migdol. One pasuk says migdol. The ksuv echad omer magdil, and the other pasuk says magdil. One says he's a tower. One says he's building a tower. Rabbi Yudin Amar. So the Midrash Socher Tov is from Eretz Yisrael, by the way, and you know that because it's Rabbi Yudin. No, it's Yehuda. It's Rabbi Yehuda. But the nickname for Yehuda in in the Yerushalmi and then Aramaic of Eretz Yisrael is Yudin. Rav Yudin says, "Lefi she'ein haga'ula shel umazu ba b'bas achas," because the redemption of this nation will not come at one time. Ela kima kima, but a little by little. Umahu magdil. What does it mean, magdil? Shehi mit gadeles v'holeches lifnei Yisrael. He grows and continues to grow before Israel. Lefi shen akshav shruyim b'tzaros, because right in tzaros gedolos, right now they got a lot of tzaros. The im tavo haga'ula b'bas achas, and if geula would come all at once, einu yacholim lisbol hayeshua gedola. They couldn't deal; it would be overpowering, like a Aseres Dibros. They would die from it. Umahu migdol, and what does it mean, migdol? Shenase melech hamashiach k'migdal, that he will make for them, the Messianic king, like a tower. So we see, we've talked about this before, that the redemption comes, it appears to come b'derech hateva, in the natural way, as a slow process, so that we can come to wake up and perceive what's going on and not be overpowered with it. Also, by the way, there's an interesting factor to this, that not everyone is ready to receive the good news at the same time, right? And by having it come kima in these ways, you will have some people that perceive it first and some people receive it later, right? No human can see when there's absolute dark. But different people do have different abilities to see in darkness, right? Some people see better when it's dark, some people don't see as well when it's dark, right? And so too spiritually, some people will perceive more of the redemption, some people will receive less of the redemption as it slowly becomes revealed. As it slowly becomes revealed, it becomes more and more. It's interesting, Rav Goren would say that people say that the 6-Day War was a miracle. He said the War of Independence was much more of a miracle. In the 6-Day War, we had weapons, we had ammunition, we had tanks. He says, in the War of Independence, we had nothing. But still, people see more of a miracle, he said, in the 6-Day War than the War of Independence. And I would say that that's because people weren't, 3 years after the Holocaust ended, people weren't ready to perceive, in general, Yeshua, salvation. It was just beyond what they could think about. Whereas, I think by 19 years later, in the 6-Day War, people were more open to receiving salvation.